On November 6, 2013, the United States Supreme Court declared that the Not Too Stuffy Law Show is the finest law program ever created in the history of the world. Of course, these are the same people who told us that Obamacare was a constitutionally sound law. Go figure.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Not Too Stuffy Law Show. I'm your host, attorney Justin St. James. For the next half hour, we hope to entertain, inform, and enlighten you. And if we don't, please don't tell anyone else. I'd like to welcome our studio audience. Looks like we're going to have a really quiet audience this time. In this program, we'll talk about wills and trusts. I'll start off by meeting with one of our favorite grandmas, Grandma Louise, as I help her update her will. We'll then talk with a real live attorney, Attorney Tara Wilson of the Wilson Law Firm. Attorney Wilson will tell us what a trust is and how you may benefit by having a trust of your own. So stick around, there's a lot to learn and you'll have a good time. Up first, Grandma Louise.
Executrix. An executrix is A, a woman who dresses in leather and hits you with her whip. B, an executor who likes to play tricks. Or C, a woman who's been named in a will as a personal representative to manage an estate. And the answer is B. Well, okay, the answer is C, a woman who's been named in a will as a personal representative to manage an estate.
Grandma Louise.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for inviting me over. I appreciate it. We're here to talk about writing a will for you. Is that correct?
That's true.
All right. Well, very good. Now, do you have a previous will from before?
I do.
You do. Is that somewhere here in America, or is it in Italy, or where
oh,
is it?
It's here. It's here. Yes.
Okay.
I think I give it to my son to hold on to.
You give it to your son, Victor?
That's the one.
All right. So what
I only have one.
You only have one. All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to write a brand new will. We're going to revise your will, and we're going to say that this will supersede or will take over instead of all the other previous wills. This is the one that will really count.
Yes, because that will I did with my husband.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
now,
he died, huh?
He died. Oh, how long have you been a widow?
Oh, 15 years.
15 years. That's a long time.
It's a long time.
I bet you miss him.
I do.
Yeah, I bet he was a good guy.
He was a good man, huh?
All right. Well, let's start with that. Let's start with your children. Now, tell me about your children. I know you have Victor.
Yes, yes.
And how old is Victor?
Well, he's 62, huh?
62. Mm-hmm. All right, 62. And then you have a daughter, Amelia, is that right?
Yes, I do. She's a 58, huh?
58, all right, 62. And now does Victor have children?
Oh, yeah, he has 4 boys, huh?
4 boys, all right. And are they all over the age of 18?
Oh, yes, out of college, yes, getting married, having a grandchildren, all the whole thing.
Oh, my goodness, all right. And now how about Amelia? I know Amelia has Frederica.
Yes, she's a young one.
She's 12.
Yes, then there's 2 boys.
And there's 2 boys, and are they over 22?
Yes, the older, Frederica, she was, came late.
I'm sorry, she was what?
She came late. She
came late. Well, better late than never.
That's true. That's true. She's a lot of good girl.
So we have that you're a widow and you have 2 children. Victor, who has 4 boys, and we have Amelia, who has 2 boys, and Frederica.
True.
So far, so good.
So good.
All right. Now, Grandma Louise, so did you own your home with your husband?
Oh, yes.
So the mortgage is all paid up?
Oh, yes. We bought a long time ago. It was not too much money in those days.
Well, I know. Well, that's the way to do it. So now, so you know on the home outright. It belongs.
That's the truth. My name.
So if we were to, let's take it from the top here. If you were to make sure that the home went to someone, where would you like it to go?
Oh, I think my son and my daughter, they should split.
Son and daughter. So we're going to divide the home equally between your son and daughter.
That's true.
All right, son and daughter. Okay. And let's see. How about what's another big possession would be a car. I saw the beautiful Mercedes.
Yeah, but my son, he says, you cannot drive, you're too old, you make an accident.
Well, he's probably smart. He's probably smart about that because there are a lot of, it can be dangerous
Wait
to drive.
till he's old.
I know, it's tough. It's tough because you want your independence.
But I keep it.
Oh, well, that's good. It's a beautiful car. You keep it in good condition.
I do.
Now, where would you want that to go? Would you want that to be?
Well, I guess they get to split the
They get to split that. So the house and the Mercedes goes split evenly between Victor and Amelia. Is that right?
That's true.
Okay, we'll take care of that. And let's see, what else have we got here that's that's valuable to you. I know that Frederica likes to play violin. Is that right?
Yes, she's doing very good.
So now you have a violin. Does she use your violin? Or?
Yes, she does.
Okay. So where would you like the violin to go? Should it go to Frederica, or would you somewhere else? Or?
Oh, I think Frederica gets the violin. Huh?
Frederica gets the violin. All right.
The boys, they wouldn't want it.
Well, they probably wouldn't. If Frederica's the one who's playing the violin, then she would probably want to keep playing it. And
those boys, they play the guitar, huh? Oh, loud, oh, that noise, huh?
Okay. Well, they might make a band, the violin and the guitars. They could, make beautiful music together.
That's good.
You never know.
Because one could play the piano. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
piano
true. Too. I
you have a
didn't
regular
tell you
band
that,
there.
but I do.
Okay. And what else have we got here, Grandma? What else would you like to? What's important to you that you'd like to see being taken care of?
Well, my china.
Your china, okay.
It's been in the family a long time.
Okay. And where would the china like to?
Well, that should go to my daughter.
Your daughter.
Keep it in the family.
Amelia.
Yeah.
And we talked about the violin. We talked about the china. We talked about the Mercedes.
Oh, it's my sterling silver engraved.
The silver. Oh, that's very precious.
I want to go to my daughter-in-law.
Your daughter. That would be Victor's wife.
Her name is Jacqueline.
Jacqueline. All right.
They call her Jackie, but I like Jacqueline.
Well, that's more formal.
Yes.
All right. So Jacqueline. And now, if I have to bring this up, if Jacqueline should predecease you, I know, or maybe she shouldn't want it. Where would you want to do it? If Jacqueline somehow doesn't want the gift, or she should predecease you, where would you want the silver to go?
My brother, he can decide.
Your brother. Your brother.
Well, I don't mean my brother. No. Excuse me.
Victor.
My son, Victor.
All right.
Where's my brain? Huh?
I know that you have a former will. Do you have a healthcare proxy that's still active? You do.
Oh yeah, my husband, when he was sick, we both do that.
You did? Okay, good. That was good thinking. How about the durable power of attorney? I mean, you.
Oh yes, and my son Victor, he take care of everything.
Take everything. Well, he was a good son.
He's a smart boy.
Now, did he also do a homestead? What's called a Homestead Act?
Wow, that's something out west, huh?
Well, it can be.
Yeah.
But a Homestead Act is something that you file with the state, and that protects your home from creditors up to a certain amount. In Massachusetts, it's up to $500,000.
Well, that sounds like a good thing.
So it's a nice thing to do. What I can get the form for you, and you can do it yourself, or I can do it for you, whatever is convenient.
I like to protect my home, huh?
That's a good thing to do. That's always a smart thing to do. All right, so you have the healthcare proxy, you have a durable power of attorney. They're both good things to have. And the Homestead Act will do it for you. We'll figure that out. And then we'll put together, what I'll do is I'll put together a first draft of a will. And
Wait a minute.
Yes.
I thought about my brother.
Your
because
brother. Yes.
I want to make sure my sister-in-law gets nothing.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
I'm not a mean-spirited woman.
No, I know.
But she was not good to my brother.
Oh, that's not that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you if there was anybody you intentionally are leaving out, because you don't want people coming back and complaining, saying, well, gee, Grandma Louise didn't mention me. It must have been a mistake. So we've got to make sure.
No mistake.
No mistake. You're one. What is her name? Lillian? Lillian. All right.
Who could forget?
Who could forget Lillian? All right. All right. So we'll make sure that Lillian does not take from the will. This is your will, so you get to say whatever you want.
Good.
All right. What I'll do is I'll put together a little proposal for you, and I'll put together a first draft, and I'll give you a call on the telephone, and we'll get together again maybe sometime, whenever it's convenient, either next week or the week after.
You come to my house, I make us some nice tea, I make us some zucchini bread.
Zucchini bread, that would be lovely. I would appreciate that.
Good.
All right, Grandma Louise, so I'll give you a call soon.
Thank you.
Nice talking with you. Just a quick note on my discussion with Grandma Louise. She had mentioned that her healthcare proxy and durable power of attorney were written back when her husband was still living. In a real situation, it would be better to have those documents updated by an attorney, especially if the deceased spouse was named as an agent in either of those documents. That way you can be sure your wishes stated in the documents are current and also protected. At this time, I'd like to check in with the studio audience. Crystal, what do you think of the show so far? Crystal, there's no rope pulling during the show. Crystal, can you not do that? Don't do that. Thank you. We've discussed wills. Now it's time to talk about trusts. For that, we turn to an expert, attorney Tara Wilson of the Wilson Law Firm. Tara Wilson is a graduate of George Washington University Law School. She currently practices law in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and also Washington, D.C. Tara is the happily married mother of 2 small children, and we're very fortunate to have her here on the show. Here's Attorney Wilson. Well, we're here with Tara Wilson of the Wilson Law Group. I should say Attorney Tara Wilson, to be more specific. Thank you for coming on the show. It's a delight to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're going to talk about trusts. So what is a trust? Let's take it from the top.
Sure. So if we want to go over the technical legal definition of a trust, it is an agreement or a private contract that people enter into, and there's 3 parts to it. There is the part that you enter. You're going to be the grantor. You're going to be the one who funds the trust. There's also the trustee, the one who manages the trust, and then there's a beneficiary, and the beneficiary is the one who receives the benefit from the trust. So it's almost like creating a fictional entity. It's not you as a person anymore. It's something like when you set up your own business and you form a corporation or you form an LLC, and so it's going to have its own name. You're going to name your trust, and it's also going to have a set of rules that it operates by. So what I would say is that if you, as the grantor, are incapacitated in any way or you pass away, then your trust will be managed by another trustee. You'll put a successor trustee in that trust, and they'll manage it for you. I like to also go over with my clients that in layman's terms, a trust can be equated to like this little red wagon that I have right here. Okay. So I would say if you're carrying all your assets, I'm a mother of 2 young children here in Andover, Massachusetts, and so I'm used to carrying them, I'm used to pushing them in their stroller, and even pull them in a wagon just like this, only bigger. And when I'm pulling them along, they're safe. If something were to happen to me, if I were to trip and fall, my children are still safe in that little red wagon when I'm pulling them along. My husband could just step in and start pulling that wagon for me. In the same way, when you set up a trust, you put all your assets in this little red wagon. So you'd put some cash in there, you'd put some of your mutual funds, your stocks, you could put your real estate, your home in there and everything, so that again, if something happens to you in your life, where you trip and fall, you get hurt, you're incapacitated, or even if you pass away, everything is already organized. You've already organized all your assets into this little red wagon, and so that your husband, your spouse, or the other person that you have named, one of these people, the trustee or the beneficiary, is already named. You have a set of instructions in there. They pick up this little handle on there, and they keep going along. So it's just one of those things where instead of having, kind of this mess when something happens to you and everyone has to pick up everything and organize it, you've done that all in advance when you set up a trust.
And now how does one create a trust? I mean, obviously they come to see someone like yourself. Sure. And then what would be the process? How do you create a trust for them? Sure.
Well, I'd say you'd always want to visit an attorney who specializes in estate planning. Trust can be pretty complex, but as an attorney, an estate planning attorney, you try and simplify it for your clients as much as possible. But it is going to be, a pretty thick document with a lot of provisions in there. So what I would do when I'm setting up a trust with my clients is I'd ask you a series of questions about how you'd want to manage your assets, who you'd want the assets and to benefit, and how you'd like to control that in the long term. And so when I'm done going through kind of this goals interview with my clients, I draft a pretty substantive legal document, and what they do then is they have this, you sign it as, not only the trustee, you sign it as the grantor, and I notarize it for you. So you'd have this substantive document, and then I'd say one of the important things after you actually create this trust, you create this agreement based on your goals, is also to make sure that, now that I've created this little red wagon for you that's customized to you, that then you work with me, or I'll give you instructions on how to go about putting everything in there the correct way. So you want to make sure that you put your bank accounts in there. You want to make sure that you put your real estate in that trust, because that's really where it's going to benefit you.
And you mentioned some of the reasons, or some of the things you can put in the little red wagon on the trust. Now, what would be some of the reasons to create a trust for?
So some of the reasons that my clients create trust is really to provide for their family in a responsible manner and in a private manner. If you were to go about life and didn't organize everything into a trust and you said, well, everyone can inherit everything through a will, that would be a public document that goes into the probate court, and they would, if what a probate is a lawsuit basically that the estate files against itself for the benefit of its creditors. So instead of doing that at the end of your life, you have a document that controls everything, so you provide for it privately. That will is going to be in a public court that anyone can look up at that point. So one of the reasons is to do it privately. You're going to be able to control the assets, and just like when you had that conversation with me to talk about how you wanted to establish your trust, the assets will be controlled in a way that you've already drafted and you've already put in that trust. And then you could also minimize the estate tax bill at the end of your life, because there are certain ways and certain provisions that you go by through mass law and through federal laws and IRS provisions that will enable you to minimize your estate tax bill, so that if somebody has a relationship, you know, it's them and their spouse, and all of a sudden one of them passes away, there might be a large estate tax bill at that point. Instead, through the trust, we can minimize those estate taxes.
And what's the difference between a revocable and an irrevocable trust? I know it seems like it should be a simple answer, and maybe it is, but what is the difference?
Sure. A revocable trust is just like it sounds like. It's one that you can revoke.
The person who creates the trust
created it. They can revoke it at any time if they want. They could just tear that trust up. So when they're doing that, and obviously if you're setting up a trust, most of the time you don't want to just tear it up. You have it there for a reason. So you establish it, but it gives you a lot of control. So everything that you put in there, you could take right out. So if you have, you put $10 in that trust and you say, no, I don't want it in the trust anymore, you could take it right out. So you have complete control over it. You have flexibility of what to do with it while you're alive. So in that respect, it's not going to protect your assets from creditors. A creditor can still say, they go after you, they say, you have this credit card bill, it's $10,000, you haven't paid it, I want my $10,000. You say, well, nope, I put all my money in my trust. They can say, well, too bad, you have complete control over that trust, just take it out, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of that trust, and they can do so. So you don't have asset protection in that type of trust, in that revocable trust when you set it up. On the other hand, when you have an irrevocable trust, it's kind of the same thing. It's one that you cannot revoke. And so when you're creating this irrevocable trust, it's one that you have to be pretty confident in the terms that you're drafting in there, and that you're going to be able to live with that for the rest of your life, and actually in death, that you want to put assets in there that you cannot then take out. So if I created an irrevocable trust and I say, I have $1 million here, I want to put it in there, I can derive the income from that, but I can't get that $1 million back. But it's also if somebody comes and then sues me and said, you owe me $1 million, I want to take it out of that trust. I say, oh, too bad, it's in that trust. I don't have control over that anymore. So the way you set it up. So there are pros and there are cons of each one, and there are appropriate circumstances to create a revocable and an irrevocable trust at different times.
One of the things we talked about earlier was one of the reasons that a person might create a trust is for an education person's purposes. If they have children, small children, they want to provide for those children, they can always put their money in an irrevocable trust. It would be probably better to irrevocable trust as opposed to a revocable one, a revocable one.
Yes.
I'm getting tongue-tied on those words. That way the child can have money for education should the parent or the person who's created the trust pass away or something happen to him or her.
That's correct. And so there are different situations, and it also depends on exactly what the client's goals are. If a client has a very substantial amount of money, say, if you say $30 million and they say, you know what, I want to put away $2 million for each of my kids, and they feel like they could live on $26 million for the rest of their life, then yeah, that's a situation where you create an irrevocable trust for that children's education. In a more modest estate, when somebody has, perhaps $3 million instead of $30 million, and they want to put away a few $100,000 or $1 million, it's probably not the smartest thing to put away, a large sum of money in an educational trust for that child. So what I'd say is, you put it in various investments like 529s and other accounts like that you still have control over, but it really just depends. You want to have some more flexibility when there's less money involved. That you will be living
you talked earlier about creditors. Now, one thing that seems to be popular, especially these days, is protecting assets against creditors, such as, say, a nursing home. So if one were to go into a nursing home, they would put their house in a trust. How would that work?
So that's actually one of the much more common reasons for creating an irrevocable trust, and I don't see that as much with my young family clients, but I do say that a lot with some of the older clients. A lot of older clients are very worried about the cost of healthcare, and the cost of a nursing facility alone can run hundreds of dollars a day. So they're very concerned that they might lose their house should they have to go into a nursing home, and that the bill from the nursing home can eat up the value of the house very quickly. So what I see some clients doing is, and what I advise them based on what their goals are and what their family situation, what their total assets are, is that they can put an irrevocable trust in place in order for them to qualify for Medicaid. So they're giving up control over some of their assets. They can then qualify for Medicaid. And so what it's called is actually an irrevocable income-only trust that they could do. There's also a qualified resident trust that they could put them in. Each one is a little bit different, but I would say that they have to be careful if they're going to put that in there. They have to remember they have to live and die by this irrevocable trust. Once they put the money that they have in there, it's going to go for the benefit of their family, then they could qualify for Medicaid, but then they can't get that $1 million back or whatever amount of money that they put into that irrevocable trust. Now, it might be beneficial because their healthcare costs in this day and age could run well over what they put in there to derive the income off of.
I know that would be if someone expects to go into a nursing facility on a permanent basis. In other words, if they expect to go into a nursing facility and never come out, I mean, would that apply for more of that, or would it apply for someone who is going to maybe get rehab for 6 months?
So I would say if you think you're coming out and you're going to need that, need that asset again, that you need to derive the principal. So certain amount of assets can, generate a given amount of income. If you can't just live on that income alone and you need to actually use the principal of that asset, and I would say you wouldn't want to put it into an irrevocable trust and not have access to it 6 months later.
And this is probably a question that's would need more time to answer, but do taxes apply to trusts, or are they sheltered from taxes, or how would that work?
Sure. So everyone wants to avoid taxes. that's the nature
of
everyone.
Why not? Yeah.
Exactly. So I'd say in the revocable living trust situation, you're putting your money and your assets into this trust. You're still using, for the most part, a lot of my clients, you're still using the same Social Security number. So you put those assets in this little red wagon, in this trust, and say your brokerage account is generating $5,000 a month in income or something like that, you're still going to declare that on your income taxes. So you're not shielding yourself from taxes on that. It's it's as if you still owned it. They're just titled in a different manner now. They're titled in the name of that living trust. And also, when you get into an irrevocable trust, again, you're not avoiding taxes, but what you are doing is when you put something into an irrevocable trust, you're avoiding estate taxes because that's no longer part of your estate. Once you put it into an irrevocable trust, say you put $1 million in there, that's no longer in your estate. So that's how you could kind of avoid some estate taxes on irrevocable trusts.
And we mentioned that nursing facilities or I should say trusts to protect homes against nursing facilities is a big item that people approach you for. What other types of trusts typically do you get at the Wilson Law Firm? Sure.
So I'd say the 3 most common types of trusts that I prepare for my clients, the biggest one by far is the revocable living trust. So if I was putting together a trust for you, it would be the Justin St. James Living Trust established, and then you give the date of the trust. And inside that trust then can be multiple subsets of trust and how it's going to divide after your incapacity, after you pass away, and it's passed down to your beneficiaries. You can create how you want your beneficiaries to inherit it. So say you have 2 children and a wife, and you pass away and your wife receives it. Inside that one living trust will be a potential family trust, a marital trust, a survival trust. And again, it might sound confusing, but it's just where you're going to allocate the money to. You allocate it almost to all these little sub-trusts. And then say you and your wife pass away, then it goes down to your children. You have 2 children. You decide how you want to give it to your children, whether or not you want to give it to them outright. And so a lot of people hear this. I don't want to give it to my children at 18. That's usually never a smart move to give children a lump sum of money at the age of 18. It could be blown on parties and college and everything like that. So instead they say, I'm going to give them a third of it at 25. I'm going to give them a third at 30 so they could put maybe a down payment on a house. And then at 35, I think they could handle the rest of it. So that's one way to distribute under that revocable living trust. Another way is a lifetime asset protection trust where you give it to your children, but instead of just giving it to them outright at 25, 30, 35, you say, I'm just going going to establish another trust for you, or this irrevocable trust that you have now. So, you know, almost like a little baby wagon that they get for them, each child gets for themselves, and they get to keep that in trust in an account for, you know, their lifetime. And so when a creditor comes after them, or say they get a divorce at 35, and instead of handing them a lump, you know, the rest of this inheritance at 35, that then their spouse takes half of it with them, they say, no, mine's in my little red wagon, you can't touch that, I don't technically, you know, own that trust. So you're protecting it long after you're gone for them. So that's the lifetime asset protection trust. And then the two other kinds, beside that one that divides into multiple sub-trusts, is a special needs trust, and that's if you know you have a child or a beneficiary that you're going to be giving money to that has some special needs that you don't feel like they could handle it, and they're going to need some support from the state for some of their healthcare needs. You put it into a special needs trust. And the other thing is these irrevocable trusts. And one of the most common irrevocable trusts that I set up are irrevocable life insurance trusts. So you fund an irrevocable trust with a life insurance policy, because a lot of people don't have $1 million to just throw into a little red wagon. So instead, they set up a policy. They say, when I die, it's going to go straight into this trust that I set up, and the death benefit, say if it's $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is, it goes into this irrevocable life insurance trust, and it funds that trust and can go to their beneficiaries in that manner in a way that they control.
Sure. Very good. And how can people find you? You have a website?
Sure. My website is www.wilsonlf.com. So it's Wilson Law Firm.
.com. And the phone number?
Sure. My phone number here is 978-296-4140.
Very good. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much,
Very
Justin.
informative. Appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Pleasure being here.
Again, the contact information for Attorney Wilson, her website is www.wilsonlf.com, and her telephone 978-296-4140. I'd like to thank the studio audience for being here. I wonder if she dreams in color. As we always do, we leave you with the beautiful music of the equally beautiful Sarah Melson. You may find Sarah's music on Amazon, iTunes, eMusic, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, sarahmelson.com. The name of the song is Happy Endings. Until next time, I hope everything you do will come with a happy ending. Thanks for watching.
Never realized how badly I needed to be surprised. You kissed me with your eyes, less than I knew. Now I'm 1,000 miles away, waiting for the first light of day, and the way I'm feeling is oh so new. And I believe in happy endings, and I only see the good in you. And I believe the world is worth mending. I think that you do too. I know that you're an optimist. You're pretty impossible to resist, and I know you've been used for all your wealth. It's okay, you can take my